Hey, today I'm going to talk about 3 brand new movies, and 2 of them I saw in the theater. What? That's so crazy. My first time in the movie theater in well over a year. This has been like my longest break from movies in like 16 years, and I'm so glad that it's done. But the names of those 3 movies I'm going to talk about are A Quiet Place Part 2, Cruella, and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Well, first up is A Quiet Place Part 2. This movie picks up pretty much exactly where the last one left off. Like maybe a couple days have gone by since the last movie ended. I wish I would have rewatched the last one in preparation for this movie, because even though I do remember the first one pretty dang well, it would have been nice for like comparing and contrasting. Especially because like I don't know which one I like more. And that really surprises me too, because like when I first heard that they were making a sequel, I was like, why? That's like a perfect one-off movie. You don't need to make more. Plus the next one's gonna be like an adventure movie. You can't do like a suspense movie now that you have the ability to kill them. But no, they like masterfully were able to continue to do lots of suspense and horror-esque stuff, but with like the littlest bit of adventure, which I was really impressed by. And also there's even like a smidgen of like a coming of age story in there too, which I really, really liked. I was also afraid about the lack of John Krasinski in the movie, just because he brings such a presence to the screen. But after like a minute of adjusting, I was completely fine with it. And I'm really glad that like Cillian Murphy's character really didn't replace John Krasinski at all. He's a similar-ish character because his character is also a father, but he goes about things in a different way. His differences help elevate other characters in unique ways. Yeah, this was just a really, really well done movie. If you've seen the first one, definitely give this one a watch. If you haven't seen the first one, watch the first one and then watch this one. It's so good. Because yeah, I really, really liked it. Also, when I went to go see this movie, I was the only person in the movie theater, and it was amazing. Like, in non-COVID times, that's such a great thing, but in now times, it's just the best. The next up is Cruella. This was actually the first movie I saw in theaters. I saw it on a discount Tuesday, which kind of was a mistake, sort of, because like, yes, I'm fully vaccinated, but like still being around large crowds and large maskless crowds makes me nervous. Like, I know I'm safe, but it's still really ingrained in me that like a sea of maskless people isn't good. Just getting to the theater and sitting down in a packed theater was an anxiety-inducing experience. And then what added to that still was that like I'm so used to watching movies right here and having complete control of the entire environment. Like I can control the temperature, I can put on a blanket, I can mess with the AC, I can control the lighting, I can pause the movie if I need to, I can make some food if I need to without missing any parts of the movie. If I get sleepy, I can take a nap. It's not a big deal. Like I'm the master of my own domain. But in the theater world, I am submissive, and there's nothing I can do about it. And that used to be so freeing for me. It would help me immerse myself even more into the story. But for this first experience back, it was rough. And like throughout like the first half of the movie, I was like, Charlie, you can leave if you want at any time. Charlie, you can leave. Just leave. If you want to, leave. Charlie, leave if you want to. You can totally leave if you want to. It's not a big deal, Charlie. You can totally leave. And I was like, no, I got this. I got this. I got this. I'm good. I'm good. But even with like all of this anxiety and turmoil happening, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was great. Emma Stone does such a great job. I loved the story. I loved how every character just had like a lot of things going on. They were full characters. Going into this movie, I was pretty excited because I do love Emma Stone in general. And I also love the director of this movie. He directed my favorite movie that I watched last year, which was Lars and the Real Girl. Crazy love that movie. 1000% recommend the movie. Watch that movie. But yeah, I think he knocked it out of the park again this time. Not to the same levels as Lars and the Real Girl, but it's a damn good story. So yeah, I definitely recommend this movie as well. It was a good story told well. It was honestly the perfect choice for my first movie back to the theaters. because it hit all the notes I needed to hit. And by the end of my time in the theater, I was like, yes, I'm glad I did this. And lastly is The Conjuring. The devil made me do it. So this is the third of the main movies in the Conjuring universe. There's also a ton of spin-off movies. I haven't seen any of the spin-off movies, just the first two in the series. Just to give you a base, I enjoyed the first one. I didn't really care for the second one. I talked about it last year, but just to give a brief recap, it just felt like a carbon copy of the first one. Like it did a lot of the same beats, but not as well. If you want to hear more about what I say, just find that video. You're an adult. You know how to find stuff. I would honestly put this movie above the second one. I enjoyed it. It wasn't amazing, it didn't blow me away, but it definitely wasn't a bad movie. I know a lot of people who like the Conjuring series complain that it's not a haunted house story, it's more of a witchcrafty story. And personally, I like that they changed it up. I like the witchcrafty stuff more in general, and I think it's a nice fresh take for this series, which is, has a ton of movies to it, so they need to do things fresh every now and again. Some people pointed out that it would have been interesting had they covered more of the trial that's happening, because there's a trial that's happening in the movie with this guy being prosecuted because the devil made him kill someone. And I do think that would have been an interesting way to go with the movie, but I think not covering it's also fine. I was kind of surprised on the lack of spooks in this movie. Like there's a decent amount at the beginning, but then there's like a really long stretch where there really isn't anything that's that spooky or creepy that's happening. They do bring it back in the end, but just, I don't know. Though at the same time, I wasn't like upset that there weren't any spooks, but in retrospect, I'm like, you want a spooky movie to be spooky, and with not that many spooks, it's, disappointing. So yeah, I enjoyed this movie. It felt very middle of the road to me. If you haven't seen any of the other Conjuring movies, you can really just jump into this one by itself. It's really a standalone movie. They don't really build off of each other. They reference stuff to things, but it's okay if you don't get that reference. So if you just want kind of a spooky witchcrafty time, it's not gonna hurt you. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. So, quick aside, I completely changed my ranking system thing. There are now 2 lists, and it took me such a long time to decide what those 2 lists are gonna be. Is it gonna be movies I watch at home and movies in theaters, or is it gonna be movies released prior to 2021 and movies released in 2021? Well, after much discussion with several friends, I decided on the latter. So the 2 lists are now movies released in 2021 and movies released before 2021. So all 3 of these movies are on the 2021 list, which has a total of 23 movies on it. So A Quiet Place Part 2 is sitting at number 5 in the really liked category. And then literally right behind it is Cruella, sitting at number 6, also in the really liked category. And then bringing up the rear, seemingly really far behind, is The Conjuring 3, or The Devil Made Me Do It, sitting at number 20 in the liked category out of a total of 23 movies so far this year that were released this year, but out of a grand total of 183 movies so far this year. I know, it's so complicated, and I'm like, but why does it need to be complicated? And I'm like, because it's you, Charlie. What do you expect? You got to make things complicated for yourself. Life can't be easy for you. I'm getting existential now, so I need to stop talking.